Hey everybody, Bob Chick back with another edition of the VOB podcast. It is Olympia time. Finally, we have made it. The action's already going on actually in Orlando, Florida, with the amateurs taking the stage today and tomorrow. That was added a couple of years ago. Over 600 athletes taking the stage at the amateur. Oh, what, of course, that's all a precursor to the big boys taking the stage. And that's what we're going to focus on here, is that's my thing. So we've got the Bob Stradamus predictions, of course, the Olympia preview, and we're going to put this all in today's podcast just for you. They actually did pretty good on the Arnold one. Not too bad, just a few, but that's why they played the game, right? All right, here's what we got. So let's just going to start things off with the big boys taking the stage. It looks like everybody has made it in. There are a few people out. Oh, breaking news. Phil Heath is still out of the Olympia. That's right. Listen, he was never in the Olympia this year, but I still think it was kind of funny. Nathan Diasha is out, and Vladdy, oh boy, look at this name. This is why he get paid the big buck, right? Sukaruchko, new guy. He was supposed to be making his debut with the Olympia. I believe he qualified as part of the Olympia Amateur Overseas, because I am not familiar with that name, but I did see a post out where he said he will not be making it into the U.S. to compete. So with them out, you have a total of 16 athletes competing in this year's Olympia. That's down from the normal. It's usually around 20, 21, 22. We've had bigger years than others, but generally speaking, it's around the 20 mark. So down to 16, that's without anybody actually dropping out. Let's hope that nobody does. But let's focus on who's there, not on who's not there. We're going to start things off with the first call-out. As I put it out to Big Steve Weinberger, our head judge, of course, for the Olympia for many years. And Big Steve will be out there calling these names in your first call-out. Bonac, Hadi, Brandon, Big Rami, and this is where it's going to get real interesting, okay? There's your top four. I don't think anybody would think that that's probably not going to be your top four in some order. And again, I'm just pulling it out randomly. The next guy whose name you hear, okay, the next guy that gets called out, that's where it's going to get interesting. Is it Ruli Winkler? Is it Hunter Labrada? Is it Ian Valliere? Is it Akeem, who was 6th last year, so he's got every reason to think he's in there? Or is it newcomer Nick Walker? That's going to be the interesting call. Now, Big Steve is known to be all over the boards when it comes to calling people. He's going to go by who's in shape, who shows up, and who presents themselves in that all-important first round. All right, that 1-minute posing routine. That's when the athletes get to showcase what they brought to the table to compete for this title of Mr. Olympia. That's the time for these athletes to put it out there that I belong in the first call-out. So this is why it's so important. You got to make an impact right off the bat to get into that first call. Now, will it be 4, 5, or 6? Steve's never had a preference, really. I've seen 4, I've seen 5, I've seen as many 7 guys up on stage at the same time across that stage. The Olympia stage is the biggest stage we got. There's plenty of room. And personally, I got to be honest with you. I don't have any issue with the guys getting called out in a large number because I'd like to see people comparing, especially when you get to the crossover comparisons, and we'll get to that in just a moment. But if I'm a betting man, okay, these are the names you're going to get first. Does Nick Walker have a chance? I think he does. I think he does. I think he's earned that with his victories, especially at the Arnold. Very impressive. And he did beat Ian at the Arnold, okay? He also beat Akeem at the Arnold. So it's not crazy that now he hasn't competed against Ruli. And Hunter, obviously, we haven't seen since the beginning of the year. So those guys I got to put up there as the guys to get possibly called out. And again, it could be all of them if Big Steve goes bigger with the initial call-out. But that's my first group. You're going to see some shuffling. If Akeem can sharpen up from the Arnold, he can absolutely get himself back to that first call-out, but he's got to be sharper from the back. If he can drop 8, 9 pounds, 10 pounds, maybe even, he's a big boy, so 10 pounds is not crazy when you're talking about a guy who's 270-something pounds. He can be in that first call-out. Nick Walker doesn't have to do a damn thing. He's not going to move mountains from last week to this week, from the Arnold until 2 weeks later on the Olympia stage, nor does he have to. He won the show. Ian Valliere, same thing. Mr. Consistent, comes in shape every time. You're not going to really make any major changes in 2 weeks' time. All he has to do is be and remain consistent. Ruli Winkler is really the odd man out here in terms of what is he going to bring and what are we going to see? Now, we've seen the Beast in action just 2 years ago, and he was a formidable component. We also seen him completely blow it this year trying to qualify. Got back a little bit of his mojo in Spain, and he got that qualification. But unless we see that Ruli Winkler on stage, he's out of that first call out. He's got to get back to what got him there, and that's that impressive size, muscularity, combined with conditioning. He also tends to come in a little soft from behind. Can't do that in this lineup. Hunter Labrada, again, another consistent guy. Put him in the same category as Nick Walker and Ian. He can compete. He was 8th place last year, just out of Dexter. That means he can move up into that 4, 5, 6 range, 7. I don't think he'll be taking a step backwards anytime soon, because the next batch, okay, your next call out, round 2, we'll call it, is going to be looking like James Hollingshead. Now, I got to clarify, okay? I noticed that James goes by the Shed as a nickname, so it makes me wonder if I got his name right. So is it Hollingshead with the H-E-A-D at the end, as it's spelled, or is it Hollingshed? I got to ask him when I get there. We got to solve this mystery, okay? A lot of muscle coming from the UK. We've seen him in the past. He's got his feet wet on the Olympia stage. He could be in that group along with Patrick Moore and Regan Grimes. And I put those 3 specifically because they're all in the bubble. Each one of those guys, and Regan Grimes, by the way, is my dark horse pick. If there's a guy that can upset this apple cart into the front, it's Regan Grimes. The kid's got all the tools. He's had a year to prepare. He qualified at the Romania show last year, so he's had a complete year of nothing but training and prep and putting his nose to the grindstone for this Olympia. The kid's got it all, man. He's got size, he's got shape, he's got proportion, he's got muscularity. If he can combine that with the proper conditioning, he's right there. He's very Steve Kuclo looking, very similar physique. It's too bad we didn't get Steve into this one. A little better show management next time, and hopefully the King Snake will be back in biz, because the kid's too good to be off the Olympia stage. But he's a bookend for Steve. Very, very similar physiques. He can step right in there, as Steve did very well at the Olympia last year. Patrick Moore, my rookie of the year just a couple years ago, he's been finding himself the last couple of shows. He's been trying to figure out what works, what doesn't work. He's got all the tools, but if he can bring that magic he had at his first Olympia, where he was sneaking into that top 10, this kid could absolutely be up there. Again, these guys are on the bubble. Okay, they're all missing various things, or they just don't have that level quite like the guys ahead of them. We're talking about the best in the world here. So it's not a knock on anybody. It's just, it's competition, right? And then you've got the next group of Hassan Mustafa, more muscle than anybody on the stage. But again, we have not seen the conditioning come into play yet. This has been his Achilles heel in his past shows, that we have not seen the level of conditioning that you need to display to win a pro show. I do believe he qualified on points, or to hang with that first group. Very difficult to hang with those guys. If you're out of condition, you're out. You're out. You will absolutely not be given consideration. This is the Olympia. There are guys that are going to be 100% or damn close to it. Justin Rodriguez, I give a huge thumbs up to at the Arnold. Kid did fantastic. Really showed some improvements. He's a guy that could be easily in that same group of Regan, James Hollingshead or Hollingshed, and Patrick Moore. Easily could be in that group. I think he's earned that spot, but he's got to bring it. Doesn't quite have the size of those other guys, but he can get up there. Mohammed Shaban, another great bodybuilder, another guy with a lot of muscle that can certainly make his way in there. But again, I don't know if he's quite at that level yet. And Andre Presti rounding out our crew. So not a big crew this year at 16, but I can almost specifically see 3 groups of call-outs. Now, what are crossover comparisons, as I mentioned at the beginning of this? Crossover comparisons is when you have, let's say, 5 guys are called out, okay? Let's say it's, again, in the same order. Bonac, Hottie, Brandon, Big Ramy, and Nick Walker, okay? Now, what I like to see is I like the place and go format. A couple of the judges like this. It's something they used to do a lot in the old school days of judging, but I've always liked it. I like the place and go. So let's just say, hypothetically, you had, in no particular order, Brandon, Big Ramy, and Bonac in your top 3 in any order, okay? That means you would leave Hottie and Nick Walker, and then you would bring up Ruli Winkler or Hunter Labrada or Ian, okay? So the last guy or two stay out there, because what you want is you want a comparison. If Ruli Winkler never stands next to Hadi Chupan and they're fourth and fifth, how do you know one was better than the other? No, we're not in a hurry. This is the Olympia, okay? The judges ain't in a hurry, all right? They know they got a big job to do over the weekend, and this is, there's a lot of money on the line, right? A lot of prestige. This is it, the Super Bowl of bodybuilding. So Big Steve will give you every opportunity that you need to get compared. But this is where I like these crossover comparisons. And then you can continue to do the same. Let's just say from that point you like Hadi and Ruli or Nick Walker, okay? Then leave the other guys up there. Leave Hunter and Ian and bring up Regan, James, and Patrick Moore, okay? Let one of those guys prove that they are better than whoever was left out there. Let him prove it. Then there's no question. It takes out all the speculation, all the politics, all right? All that stuff we always talk about, I always try to dispel because it doesn't really come into play. But you know what? It doesn't give the hint of impropriety either. You know what that is? The hint of impropriety. That means it looks like something's not right. Okay? It completely dispels, it takes it right out. Nobody can use that as an excuse when somebody says, well, I never stood next to him. How do they know I wasn't better? If you look at the individual pictures, I was better than that guy. Takes it right out. And it takes it out because they stood next to each other. They were given an opportunity to stand next to each other to compete for the biggest title in the land, and that's exactly what the Pro League's going to do. And hats off to Steve Weinberger for that. All right, so with that said, it's prediction time. All right, here's the deal. I saw a picture, courtesy of my good buddy DJ just last week, of Big Ramy. Listen, forget about it, all right? If this guy is anywhere close to 100%, or last year's appearance, because he was right up there. Let's face it, that's the best combo we've ever seen. That's why he won, right? If he's got that going, nobody's going to beat him, okay? Nobody's going to beat him. My prediction right now, Big Ramy repeats, best Big Ramy we've seen, improved over last year. His confidence has got to be through the roof. Now, keep in mind, last year, as good as he was, and with his title, he had a completely new team. Dennis, I know, beat him into the ground posing every day, which was monumental to his victory. I still say it. I stand by this. If not for his help in the posing, he wouldn't have won because he was fading out the year before. He was dogging it, hands on the knees, out of breath, the whole deal. Listen, that is not easy up there. And as we just talked about, Big Steve will put you through the rigors of posing to get that title. Okay, this is not going to be easy. But he took it on, and it paid off in dividends, and he got the title. Big Ramy for the repeat, and still, it's the two words he's going to be hearing. This is where it gets interesting. Hadi Bonac or Brandon, or somebody else, right, for number two. I got to stick with Brandon Curry. He's a former Olympia champ. He's got all the tools if he's improved even a little bit. Hard to overlook for runner-up. He's got such a pretty physique. That waist-to-arm ratio and all that. His legs, by contrast, are not small. I want to slap somebody every time I hear that, okay? It's his arms that are too big. There's a difference. His legs aren't small when you see him in person. Now, that said, it's all an appearance game, right? That's what we do, smoke and mirrors. Doesn't really matter what they measure, how they look, or how much you bench. The only thing that makes any difference is how you look on stage. So, Brandon Curry, I'm going to leave in second place. I think Hadi's going to end up in third. Again, he's got all the tools. He'll probably be the most conditioned guy up there. He just doesn't have enough, I don't think, to overtake Ramy. I mean, there's a lot of weight there in terms of size differential. And Bonac, again, Mr. Consistent, but a little more up and down. Again, if he goes bigger, he tends to get a little bit blockier. It would not shock me if any of those three, by the way, are in any order of 2, 3, and 4. Now, I'm not trying to be facetious when it comes to picking, winners and all that, but it's incredibly difficult, as everybody knows. Who's the guy to be looking for? Nick Walker is such an unknown in here. We've seen him. He's defied every odd that there is so far. Could Nick be up there? Could he knock one of those guys out of there? Absolutely. He's the same size as Bonac and Hadi and Brandon. They're all pretty much the same. So he might compare very well. It would not shock me if Nick Walker came out of here with a top 6 finish. Akeem was six last year, I believe. And he's right there. Nick Walker just beat him. So No, the unknowns, okay? Regan Grimes, I just mentioned, could he be that guy? He could easily step into that 6th or 7th place finish. And Hunter Labrada, such a pretty physique, if he can nail the conditioning, he could take a lot of element out of this because he's bigger than those other guys we just mentioned, other than Rami. So there's your top guys, I think. But I'm going to take it to the bank. Big Rami for the repeat, and still, and 2-time Olympia champ. You saw the party they gave him last year in Egypt when he got home. I can't even imagine what they might give him a pyramid as a gift when he gets back there. All right, on to the 212. Sean Clarita, the giant killer, came in at 177 pounds, giving up 30 pounds within the 212 division last year to just edge out Kamel El-Garni, who was the champ at that time. I can tell you because I had the score sheets. That was not the result at the end of prejudging. Okay, that switch. Now, nothing nefarious going on there. They are judging at night at the Olympia, okay? So you don't get the night off. There is no prejudging. You go eat ice cream and pizza and beer, and you show up and you get what you get. It was a 1-point decision, and it flopped. They were pretty much tied after prejudging. Kamel El-Garni's coming back. I believe he's 50 or 51, which is absolutely amazing that he can be in contention for the 212 title at over 50 years old. Is unbelievable. That's Dexter Jackson category, okay, of crazy genetics. But you got to give it up to him. Ahmad Ashkanani, again, the great one from Kuwait, very consistent, but very inconsistent. He's consistent in terms that he's always there to play the game, but his conditioning was just off a little bit last year. Just off enough that it took him out of that running. Here's the guy you got to look for, Derek Lunsford. Derek Lunsford has all the tools. He's got a better physique than those 3 guys I just mentioned in terms of overall development, shoulder to waist ratio, flare to the thighs. The kid's got it all, but we've had this conversation before. Can Derek put it together? He's got a new team around him. If he puts it together, he can win this competition. But you got Keon Pearson and George Double Peterson. Those guys are excellent, especially Keon. Probably the best pure physique, very Edgar Fletcher-ish for those in the old school here, okay? Beautiful physique, beautiful physique. Can he put it all together, though? Does he have the size? Again, he gives up a little size, but the smallest guy in the class won the show last year. So we got to take size out of it. Sean Clarita's the smallest guy. 177, 87, 97, 2007, 207. That's 30 pounds within the class. That just showed you how good Sean Clarita is. But can he continue to slay the Giants? That's the question. I'm calling for the upset this year. Derek Lunsford puts it all together, takes out Sean Clarita, and puts his first Olympia title around his waist. I think Clarita will be close. I think him and Kamal will be fighting for 2 and 3. But I think the overall size of these guys will take a toll this year. If Sean Clarita isn't 100%, then the size does become a factor. Keon Pearson and George Peterson, they will absolutely be in the mix. That's your top 6 guys right there. No question about it. Yes, there are other competitors. No, we're not going to go all the way down the line. Okay? Take it to the bank. Derek Lunsford, your first Olympia title. And new. All right, on with the guys still. We'll try to cover the girls on another show, but right now we've got the time is not on our side, folks. Classic physique. Bumstead, the stash. Can he make it 3? Absolutely. He's in a class all by himself, folks. He looks the part. He is classic bodybuilding. His consistency of bringing that muscle and condition and shape combo, too much for anybody else. Breon Ansley, hate to say it, bro, but you guys have had some great battles. This is the rubber match, I believe. But I think Bumstead wins this one. Breon, after this, you got to go 212, brother. Come on, man. Listen, they're giving you a sign after this. If you lose this one, you got to go 212. He's got all the tools. He can absolutely be a contender instantly. The guy you got to worry about is Terrence Ruffin. Terrence, not the biggest guy in the class, but you know what? One of the best, just off the heels of a win in Columbus, Ohio at the Arnold. Terrence Ruffin, the best pure poser out of all of them. That's, of course, with all due respect to Logan Franklin, who won the Best Poser Award at the Arnold. But he's not in this conversation. Here's the guy you got to watch, Robert Timms. My man. We just saw him come back this year. He was U.S. active military. We saw him 2-3 years ago kind of make his debut and get his feet wet there. This kid's put together, man. I tell you, if there's going to be an upset, he's the guy that can do it. When I say upset, it doesn't mean he can. I don't think he can knock out Bumstead. I don't think he's quite there. He's not far off, but he can take out Breon or Terrence or one of these guys. You also got Divine Wilson. You got Danny Unin. You got Alex Cambronero, a former Arnold winner. He got upset by Terrence Ruffin this year, but they were this close, and he's got all the tools as well. So those are going to be your top guys in no particular order other than Bumstead. I'm going to go with Bumstead for three-time classic champ. The mustache is the deciding vote, folks. Take that one to the bank as well. All right, men's physique. This is interesting, okay? Men's physique, very popular. They got all their own fans, and they come out in droves when it comes to these Olympias. They are loud, and they let know the judges who they want in first place, okay? Here's what you got. Raymond Edmonds, okay, top contender. Brandon Hendrickson, incumbent champ right now. Now, these guys have traded the last 3 years. Here's the deal. Brandon Hendrickson only wins the Olympias on even number years. 2018, 2020 champ. Raymond Edmonds, 2019 champ. If I'm going by the numbers, it's Raymond's time to win. This is it. 2021, odd year. Can Raymond put himself back up over Brandon? What a great competition between these two guys. They flipping, flopping. This will make my case. Bob Stradamus calls it right now. I'm going to go with Raymond. I'm going to go with Raymond because it's a odd number year. That's the only reason. Both these guys are absolutely tremendous. Too close to call. I'm going to go with the flip-flop back and forth. Raymond, odd number year. He's number one. And again, Olympia champion. Not without competition, everybody. Diego Montenegro, Andre Ferguson, Joe Lee. All these guys are top contenders. Keep your eye on this guy. I've singled out one in every single category so far, and I'm going to give you that answer right here. His name is Ramses Rams. What a great name. Great name. From Spain. 2 wins to his credit this year on the circuit. That's not a guy that a lot of people know, but mark my words. Mark this on your calendar right now. Put the big asterisk right here next to his name. Ramses Rams will be out there in the first call-out. Can give either one of those guys trouble. And it wouldn't be an even or an odd year. It'll be Ramsey's year. That's for sure. So the kid's good, man. He's got the look, chiseled look, a good-looking kid, beautiful physique, very Zeus-looking, all right, for those who saw the Snyder Cut. All right, they did a lot of Zeus in there. So it's got that same look, man. It's got to bode well with the judges. I'm not even going to take a lot of time in this one. The wheelchair champs will be taking the stage. Can't leave the boys out. Who's beating King Kong Kelly? Nobody. There's a reason they call him King Kong Kelly, right? There's a reason he's got 20-something wins to his credit. There's a reason he's the defending Olympia champ. He's too good. He looks like Phil Heath on wheels. You're not going to take the champ out. King Kong for the 3-peat. That's going to wrap it up here, folks. Olympia preview in the books. Bob Stradamus speaks. Can I get them all right? We will see back after the Olympia. I'll try to give some updates over the weekend, folks. Keep you guys into the mix of what's going on behind the scenes, behind the curtain. And I've got the best seat in the house once again on the Olympia stage, my 15th year at the helm. We'll see everybody there. Everybody, fans out there in the U.S. and abroad. Those watching on the pay-per-view, are you ready?